Hello and welcome to the Steven Universe audio log thing, as it shall be henceforth known, where each week or day or whatever the release schedule for this thing is, we've really got to figure out the details of this soon, Chris, because at this point...
or stop acknowledging it.
Yeah, or stop acknowledging we don't have details.
Stop saying it,
Yeah, so we're sort of going through Steven Universe episode by episode with somebody who's a big fan, that would be me, and someone who not only has never seen the show, but is potentially unlikely to ever gel with it at all, because he's not a big fan of he's never really grasped onto an animated show. Is that the fairest way to phrase it, Chris?
Yeah.
I know you sometimes take exception to the way I phrase it. Occasionally, though, to be fair, I do phrase it, Chris hates animated TV, which...
Yeah. Well, sometimes you've been like, Chris has no heart for animated TV. Like, if they're not real people, Chris doesn't give a shit. He doesn't like animals either. Fuck that guy. And I think that's unnecessary.
That's exactly how I phrased it.
Yeah.
I'm
not a big animal fan, but...
Well, I'm aware. Although I wouldn't have followed that up with confirming that, because now people think you're a monster. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
fine. I went to a zoo like 10 years ago. I'm done with zoos. Anyway, carry on.
So,
it's fine.
We're going to talk about episode 3 of Steven Universe, Cheeseburger Backpack. Very quick summary. I'm going to try and make it quick this week. I was a bit rambly last week. Basically, Steven wants to help the gems on one of their gem missions. He gets a cheeseburger backpack in the mail and is determined to be useful. So he brings a bunch of stuff along, and some of it works, some of it not so much. And in the end, the very object in which they went to do, he didn't bring, causing an entire historical gem landmark to crumble into the ocean. So yeah, that's the basics of the episode's plot. What did you think, Chris?
Well, it's difficult because, like, I'm very acutely aware that this is probably only really being listened to by big fans of the show, and I don't want to like offend anyone. But compared to last week, this was bollocks. God. In my opinion, well, because last week's had so much heart, and like we dealt with his father, and we got hints about the mum thing. This week, it's a big historical building that relates to his mum, and there's no, it's just an excuse for jokes when it crumbles into the ocean. I'm not sure what really happened. Like, what happened? They go to a build. There was some good gags. The what's it called?
The dinghy?
The boat. The boat gag. That's a good gag. Cool. But there was no. Even the shitty cockroach monsters, at least, it was a clearer, like, ABC story. This was, they went to a place, they walked around it for a bit, the place fell down, fucked off home on a dinghy. Like, I don't know what happened. It's just a little bit, it felt like I was watching, it felt like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga had done a duet and this was the music video. Like, I was not sure what was going on, but there were a lot of bright colours.
Wow. Okay.
If I'm honest.
So, from my perspective, this actually, it's not as overt as the stuff in the previous episode, but I think this episode speaks a lot to one of the elements of the themes of the show going forward, which is Steven's feeling of inadequacy next to the gems. So. He obviously doesn't have a grasp of his powers, and he doesn't have whatever being a gem is. At this point, you don't really know, and that's fine. He's not feeling included. He's not feeling like he's able to do that because evidently he's part human, because his mum was a gem and his dad was Homer Simpson with a mullet. I don't know how else to describe his dad without giving you spoilers for the future stuff. So it's an interesting. It's interesting to me because how does someone who feels useless and inadequate contribute when he's in this household of these things that are, they're whatever they're achieving. They're saving Beach City from big cockroach monsters or that big eye thing. And this week there was a historical temple they were really looking to preserve, and to preserve it, they essentially needed to get this one statue on this one pillar before the moon got to a certain point, that would have kept the building structurally sound, maybe even saved it.
But why'd they leave it so late to go over there?
And maybe they didn't. I think in the beginning of the episode, they just fought a big bird monster, and then they had the stone. I'm guessing they'd only just acquired the statue in that fight with the giant, because he comes in and they return from a mission, and they were like, "Yeah, we just fought a giant bird, but we got this stone thing," and I think that's gonna say. So I think they're only going now because they've only just acquired the statue they need. So what does Steven do? And it's played for comedy, obviously. He has this cheeseburger backpack, and in his rush to be so helpful, he actually forgets to bring this one essential item. And what's sweet about it to me is that he essentially fucks the entire thing up so badly. And yet, in the end, the gems support him. No, it was okay. 2 out of 4 isn't so bad, Stephen. And that to me is so. It speaks to them wanting to. They want him to succeed. They want to encourage him, but at the same time, he really messed that up. Like that is failure to the max. Like he didn't bring the one thing they definitely needed, and he cost this building, this ancient building that clearly, especially to Pearl. And for your benefit, Chris, Pearl's the skinny one, the sort of skinny pale one. Clearly that building meant a lot to her. They had the scene where they're walking through it, and she's going, "Oh, that didn't used to be like that," and "Oh, this statue's in a state," and "Oh, that even that." She one of my favorite ones, that pillar. Oh, that pillar! Like she remembered that specific pillar. I love that line. So to me, like, it's more about Stephen being inadequate and the gems being surprisingly supportive. But it's all played for comedy, so it's very subtle. It's there, but you've got to be looking, I guess.
Did we need 20% of the episode though to be a scene with him and the postman?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, you're not wrong there. I do like Jamie the postman, but yeah, that's kind of.
I see what you mean, and those things come across, but just for me, they didn't hit home or weren't done as impactfully as the stuff last week.
So when you're referring to the stuff last week, for those who may have not listened, yeah, that's like you're talking about like how they hinted at like the sort of the
stuff with his father and
the tragedy.
And,
of the fact that Mum has
maybe that's because
herself
it's easier to relate to a father-son thing than to gem powers and the gems being nice to him, because the father-son thing is a more human, non-animated thing, and animation makes my heart go oh so cold. But like, I just didn't gel with it as much.
Did you?
I think it's No, I think that's it. Like, but I could do. I think if I cared and knew the gem characters more, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that will just come over time.
Yeah, that's frustrating as well. I remember when I first watched it, wishing I could get a better sense of them earlier on, because Stephen feels pretty well characterized quite early, really.
Yes, yeah.
And I think they've done a good job of sort of laying out what he's about and how he thinks, and he's ultimately a very sweet character. He sometimes acts sort of weird and cocky or like a brat, but I think it's because I think the notion is that he's young, and as the show goes on, he ages and matures in a very obvious fashion. Like there's a real A to B. You can follow Stephen's maturity growing in a great deal. It's really? Particularly, I mean, for me watching this now, I'm like, oh my god, he's acting like such a child. Like you forget that the show has evolved his character so drastically until you go back and watch these early episodes, and but it's done really organically and very neatly. It's not jarring at all. But what's cool about it is that he does feel so defined so early. Like when Pearl is like, "No, we're not going to let you come," he gets a bit bratty about it, and you see where he's coming from. It all comes from a good place. So you see the sweet character he truly is coming through, but he's still got a ways to go, and that's really clear and very obvious. The gems, on the other hand, are sort of question marks at this point, both in terms of what they are, where they come from, and what the fuck they exist for, and powers, and what are all these things they're fighting. That's all still big mystery. What they're saving Beach City from, you don't really know, even at this point.
No.
So that's, you sort of understand, like, you understand that they're not telling you the facts, but what really I feel like I'm not going to call it a failing because I know that they get there, but one thing that the show could have done earlier to help make this all a lot more tenable and more user friendly for someone coming into it like yourself would have been to do a better job of clearing up the characters of the gems. This happened in the first episode. There was something that I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was a gag that you were just like, that wasn't funny. Why was that funny? I was like, well, it's funny because Amethyst is this character and Pearl is like this, so it was the money thing, wasn't it? It was the thing about how Amethyst had stolen the cookie cats, and Pearl was like, we went back and paid, and like, the more you get to know them, that's funny. That's really funny because it's so Amethyst to just not give a shit and take what she wants, and it's very Pearl to make the effort to go back and give them money. So, but that joke only works. It doesn't only work, but it works a lot better knowing the characters. So I think the show's biggest failing at this point is not really giving you a sense of who the gems are. Even if it's willing to hold, even if it's holding back the facts, fine, do that. But you've got to at least make me understand what these people are like. How do they, you know, and yeah, you're right. The show has spent more time developing Steven than it has them. But with that said, 10-minute episodes, how much can you really do? If you do that, do you then detract from how much time we've gotten to get to know Steven or his dad?
True. I mean, we've only really, at this point, had half an hour.
Yes. Yeah. Which, you know, if we were watching this in the form of like a 40-minute pilot, you know, we've still got one episode before they've even done it. That, you know, had that much time to sort of develop everything.
Although most animations are 22 minutes, so
there you go. So we've seen what we've seen in 1.5 episodes.
Yeah,
if you're going by you're right, animation standards. So yeah, it's interesting that's where you're coming from, and I totally get it. You're going through a little bit what I went through when I first watched Adventure Time, as we talked about last week. So it's, but I'm hoping that if you, you're being forced to. I'm hoping you'll grow to appreciate that. About
either that, or I get increasingly angry. And either way, you know, it's
podcast gold.
Yeah. Either way, it's giving the people something.
Yeah, there you go.
And if all we can do is deliver something, quality, good or bad,
yes,
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, great. So I think
there we go.
I think that's everything for this week then. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next time. I've forgotten I should really just keep the titles of the Steven Universe episodes up handy, shouldn't I?
I guess, but there's, you know, we'll look back at these as the ropey years where we didn't know what we were doing with this thing, and
yeah, when we get to episode like 200.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I have.
Wait. There's 200 episodes of this show?
I don't think so. No.
I
think they have hit 100 though.
Okay.
Recently, like
cool,
late last year. So I think we're in the early hundreds now, like 110 or something. Okay. But yeah, the next episode we're going to chat about is called Together Breakfast.
Cool. More food references.
Oh yeah. Get used to food references. Food does not go away as a theme on this show.
That.
Yeah,
definitely getting that now.
Which is hilarious because a little teaser. Technically, gems don't need to eat, which just makes it even funnier. But we'll get to that.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll see you next time for Together Breakfast.